Won't. So we're going to be doing the Elijah Elijah conference, the Elijah fast, and it's coming from Isaiah 58:6. I actually did a recording on that today on how we got our mind back. And so if you want to kind of see another perspective of that Elijah fast, go out to our YouTube station and look if you're having some mental challenges or mental if you know people who have mental challenges, looking at that, how you got your mind back can really help you. But the word says, is not this the fast that I've chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, that ye may break every yoke. So this is really about yoke breaking. Yokes are bondages, things that we have been accustomed to doing, accustomed to seeing, habits that we have that are we just say, oh, it's just me. Those types of things are yokes. And so this particular fast is dealing with habits. A habit is defined as a behavior pattern acquired by many frequent repetitions that reflect a regular or increased performance. So each of us have habits. Habits of thought. Habits of thought are twofold. When the habits of thought, you either focus on your mind, focuses on the problem, or it focuses on the promise. And so habits can be either positive or negative. Not all habits are a bad thing. You can have good habits and bad habits. We're specifically talking about in this fast habits of thought and habits of feeling. And again, you can have feelings or emotional problems, or you can have emotional promises. That's really going to be the choice that we're going to be making in this fast, and thinking about the good and the bad. The good being the promises of God, the bad being the problems of you. And so as you think about this, you know, an easy question might be like, what are some good habits you have? And anyone want to share good habits that you have? And we might be able to come up with several, but then probably the easier question for most of us is, what are some bad habits we have? Because many times we think about the bad, we don't think about the good. The first thing that comes up, you can have 50 good things happen in your day, but one bad thing happens and you had a horrible day and you're ready to jump off of a bridge. Because we're so problem focused instead of being promise focused. And this fast is really trying to get us to deal with our bad habits and replace them with good habits. So does anyone want to share any good or bad habits?
Hi, Charlene, Sherry. I feel like I have a good habit that I think is nice. And last night I woke up in the middle of the night at 1 a.m. and I just woke up, and it happened to be an evangelist on TV, and he was talking and all these things, and it really spoke to me. It was 1 a.m. and I laid there and I would listen to him, and I realized that I have a really good habit that I do is that I call my parents. I'm in Palm Desert right now, but I live in San Diego primarily, but my mom and dad are still, my dad's 91 and my mom's 86. And I call my parents probably every day of the week. And I speak to both of them, and I make sure that I just talk to them, and, you know, and they pray and they go to church on Sundays. We talk about their church, but I always make sure that I touch base with my parents. So I feel like that's a really good habit that I have. And last night, the evangelist, he just started talking about how you need to be with your parents. And it's so the smart kid, he goes, there could be a lot of kids in the family, but the smartest kid in the family is the one that takes care of their parents. I just thought that was just interesting. I woke up this morning thinking about that because I never thought about myself being smart, but I just thought, wow, I'm smart, and I think it's a good habit. So I don't know. I think if you have parents, it's a good thing to do. So it made me feel good.
That is a good habit. Calling your parents, taking it, staying in touch with them. That's a good habit. That's a positive habit.
Correct. I feel that. Yes. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
have a habit of when I see ambulance or fire truck, I pray for where it's going. Because I don't know, where it's from, but I always do that. I don't care if I'm driving where I'm at. If I see it, and hear it, then I'm gonna stop and pray for it.
Mm-hmm. You were about to,
That's a habit, I think.
you were about to say something, La, about a habit.
Good habit. No. Actually, there is one thing. I'm usually pretty good about cleaning up. So,
Hmm,
good one.
you must have lost your habit when you came here. No.
Cleaning well.
Yeah, cleaning up after yourself. So.
That's what you see.
For me, I'm not, I don't give up easy. I just.
Dog it. So just remember that you do have good habits, but this week we want to focus on a bad habit. You know, purpose in yourself before the class is over to listen and find one habit that you want to deal with this week, that you want to begin to alter and make an exchange, because that's what you want to do, is exchange a good habit, a bad habit for a good habit. You don't want to exchange a good habit for a bad one. So think about that this week as we go through these steps of the Elijah fast, and think about what you can transform. It's not going to, it might not happen in a week, but it will happen. And so, well, God can do anything.
Yes,
He can do anything. And so, so consider this. This is one of the consideration points in the book. We work hard hiding our inner pains from others, but we cannot hide what is in our heart from God. If God had to take an inventory of your heart, what are some of the things he would find there that you would hope that he would overlook? That is truly, when you consider that, that's truly the things that you want to begin to knock on this week. Those things that are in your heart, you're like, oh, no, God, don't look at that one. Oh, can you swipe on that one? Can I get a pass on that one? You know?
Yeah.
And some of these things that break your heart, we're talking about relationships. Relationships can break us, and we can sometimes forget that we have the spirit of reconciliation in us to resolve conflicts in a relationship. Those relationships that have broken us. And when they break us, there's things like anger and hurt and confusion and bitterness and just hopelessness. And then we begin to put walls around our heart, and we have a hard time letting other people in because of a broken relationship. We make vows that we will never enter into a relationship again because I don't want to get hurt. God made us for relationship. And so I want us to look at those emotional wounds. What emotional pains do we have where we're making vows not to do something again because of our brokenness? That's what this fast is really about, is to break those yokes. Break the yokes that hinders us. I get a smiling baby. This ain't no yoke. Yes.
Yeah.
So these are some signs. Think about these signs. Where do you carry your scars? Emotionally wounded people. This is how many of these are on your list? You cry easily over small things. You lose interest towards things that you used to enjoy. You get annoyed easily by people's behaviors. You feel worthless and hopeless. You keep replaying the bad memories in your head over and over and over again. You feel too much until you're numb, and then that numbness turns to void because you've got nothing left to give. You overthink everything. Everything you got to think about before you even get out the bed in the morning. You're thinking, you're thinking, you're thinking. You have a chronic sleeping schedule. You can't sleep all night. You're up, you're down, you can't sleep. You feel clueless and you feel stuck. You realize that you need to be healed. There's 100 other signs, but of these 10 signs, are you emotionally wounded? Are your emotions so shattered that you're stuck? That's something that you want to consider this week, because we need to move forward in our emotional state, because we're stuck in our trauma, we're stuck in our drama, we're stuck in our past, we're stuck in our situation. God is saying this is the time to move. Okay, well, maybe you got all your emotions together. What about your mind? Anxiety, mood swings. You take all types of medication, you have mania, you have hypertension, you have all of these things that are just clogging your mind, panic attacks, depression, OCD. You don't like to take risks. Maybe you like to take risks, on either side of the coin. All of this stuff is running around in your mind. And so you're running around in a state because your mind is scarred. You have mental warfare. The attacks are coming against your mind. It's coming against who you are. It's coming against your identity. It's coming against you so that you cannot even rest because of the unrest in your mind. Does this sound familiar? Do you carry emotional scars or do you carry mental scars? Are you still stuck at 5 years old? Are you still stuck with a trauma that happened when you were 15 years old? Because the mind is eternal. And even though you're grown, if you haven't gotten rid of the trauma or the drama, you're stuck right back at that age that you were, trying to deal with situations at the age that you were. It's time for us to go back and allow God to heal those wounds, so that you can move forward in life. We can think about Elijah in the Bible, and I don't know if you know a lot about Elijah, but if you read 1 Kings chapter 19, you'll hear all about it. This is the prophet that called fire down from heaven and destroyed 400 prophets, false prophets. He did great signs and wonders. Now, soon after he called fire down and destroyed 4,000 prophets, one lady said, "Man, I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill him." And that sent him running into the wilderness, running into the desert. And so what I say to that is, you can be great in ministry, you can be great in business, you can be a great in whatever relationship you have. But if you are mentally and emotionally unstable, what the enemy does is, at your greatest moment, at your greatest victory, he's going to come back and try to slam you with all the fears and all the cares of your mind, so that you would run right back into your coping skills. He had fear that caused him to run into isolation. Sound familiar? When you get scared, when you get panicked, when you feel like you've lost control, instead of running to God, you run into the place of isolation. You run into a place of safety. You run into a place of drugs, or you run into a place of another person's hand, or you run into a place of shopping, or where do you run to? To be isolated simply because of your fear. He was depressed. He was depressed. And he was given to paranoia. Paranoia is like, who's after me? Everybody's after me. Nobody likes me. Nobody cares about me. All of these are signs of paranoia that this great man of God, this great person of God, somebody's trying to get on and can't. is given to paranoia. How about after a great victory, you want to die when threatened? That's what he did. He was so depressed after he had this victory that, you know, I said on the program today, it's kind of crazy where he was running for his life because he didn't want the queen to kill him. But at the same time, he ran into the wilderness and said, let me die. Well, if you wanted to die, why'd you run into the wilderness? Yeah, double-mindedness is just crazy. When we are emotionally and mentally unstable, we do crazy stuff. What about suffering from chronic depression? Can you imagine Elijah, who was taken up in a chariot, was suffered from depression? Can you imagine that? Dear God. Negative habits. What negative habits do we have because of our emotional and mental instability? Just think about, what is it that God is looking at and saying, Charlene, I want to deal with this because you have an issue in this area. And it's a negative habit simply because of something in your mind that you believe about yourself. Will you give that to me? Oh God, that's just who I am. You know how I am. Well, I don't want you to be how you are, daughter. I want you to be like me. I want you to reflect who I am. That's what bad habits do. It reflects who you are, but he's trying to get us to reflect who he is. So when you just say, oh, just who I am, that's the wrong answer, because we are to look like and model Christ if we're believers. And again, if you have isolation issues, that's going to be a problem. Unable to remain in control is going to be another problem. And if you dealt with abandonment and self-esteem issues, he's going to give you a test in this book, a four-part test, and we'll go to that test. And if you have these 4 issues in your life, this is when you probably need the Elijah fast. Any questions on any of that? So these are the 4 indicators that you need this fast. You have a destructive self-image. You think negative of yourself. You think low of yourself. You have when you're threatened, you have a threatening self-image, and you self-reject. If any of these things ring true for you, this is an indicator that the Elijah fast would be something for you. And you have to understand, these destructive behaviors come by triggers. And triggers are internal shots that kind of come off. It could be places, it could be people, it can be emotions, it can be routines or habits, it can be situations, it could be a smell, it could be you're walking into a place that kind of pulls you back into time. All of these triggers trigger these self-destructive behaviors, these self-destructive attitudes, these ideas of rejection, of just not wanting your. That sounds pretty wild.
That's coyotes, right?
It sounds like something. Yeah, we have some. Sounds like they hopefully not coming after cats or something. When triggered or fired, and you're threatened. So what you do is you escape. That's how we handle these threatening situations. The question then becomes, are you attached to the wrong vine? To the wrong vine. And the wrong vine means this: you have a victim's mentality. Everything is people are attacking you. Everything is about, what are you doing right now in this room? What are we doing right now in this room? This is, you're listening to the dogs. You're listening to, why are these dogs here? Everything that the enemy can do is distract. The first thing that you do when you have sounds and you have things to distract you, instead of sitting here while you guys are talking and I'm talking to you, I'm praying in the spirit and telling those dogs to be quiet, and I'm releasing angels to release in this atmosphere so no hurt, harm, or danger is going. I'm not sitting there and saying, well, why is the sky falling? Why am I being attacked? I don't have, you don't, this is a side note. When you are in a place of war, when you are in a place when you are distracted from doing your assignment, don't focus on the distraction. What you focus on is commanding order back into a situation. I mean, because things happen in a split second. Your life is in danger in a split second. And if you take that split second to take your eyes off Christ, you can think about it. When he was walking on water, the waves and winds were coming. The coyotes are coming. And we can't think about the waves. We got to think, Jesus, what do you want us to do? How do you want us to respond? Because the enemy will distract you at the exact moment that you need something from God. That enemy will come in howling. That we have to stay focused on what God is calling. And when he gets off target, I can tell you, this is really not on point on what we're talking about. But if we're talking about really wanting to pray, really wanting to be soldiers, we have to always be ready for an attack. And when you're ready for an attack and something's coming up, somebody's coming up on me in the street, I'm not turning around and say, why do you want to shoot me? No, I'm going to defend myself, and I'm going to do things to protect myself. So in this type of environment, that's what we need to be doing. We need to be praying. We need to be pushing that thing back. So when the person's up there talking, you guys are in the seat doing warfare. You guys are in the seat securing the perimeters. You guys are in the seat taking care of the atmosphere. You don't have time to think about why they're doing it, when they're doing it. Are they attacking my car? We have to go to war. That's a side note. But do you understand the importance of it? Because the enemy is going to declare war on us. He's going to distract you and in your life. He's going to send distracted things in your life. And you cannot focus on the distraction, because that is a victim's mentality. The victor's mentality says this: how can I overcome this sound? How you cannot. Some things, Lyle, it's not by might, it's not by power, but it's by my spirit that these things are done. We have to have a spiritual aptitude to handle things, even that we see in the natural, because some things that we kind of come up against with our own power and own might is not going to do it. The attacks that's going to be happening in our families and in our cities is going to be bigger than the strength that we have. But if we understand it's by the Spirit of the living God, you know, we have to understand that there's another way to fight. It's another way to fight. The way you fight is on your knees. If you're one to go on your knees, if you're one to lay out, you got to fight. But the way the fight is with your mouth, and you put the word of God in your mouth and you begin to release things in the atmosphere, and you command the atmosphere to change now. God, go get them now. Angels, lock it down now. Whatever the issue is, do it now. That is how we become lions in a world where we also have to be lambs. I'm gentle. I think I'm gentle. I can be very gentle. But my daughter's looking at me like, the whole room.
I'm with you, Maggie.
Yeah.
Can't be gentle.
Yeah, you can be.
But there is a time when the lambs got to stop and the lion has to come up, because we are both kings and priests, and you can't punk a king. A king demands his subjects and he demands his territory. The priest can be nice. The priest makes sacrifices for people. I could be a priest. I cry and I travail for all of you guys. I'm not, but I also have to understand I got to be a king because I don't want my territory under attack. I'm sorry, that was a really long thing for dogs barking.
No, but it makes sense. I know it's true. Because I was in a place, God said, come into the secret place with me. And I went into the secret place and all of a sudden I heard a big bang downstairs. And I went to see what, and I couldn't get back into that place. So I know what you're saying, and I know that is real and it's true, because I experienced it. See, and so that, yeah, our mind just went because of what I heard, out there. So it took your mind away from where it should have.
And I had to
Stay,
shake you
yeah.
guys back to where
Yeah,
you
you were,
supposed to
yeah.
be, because you have to stay on point.
Yeah.
I saw y'all, the confusion that was in the room was my brain was just spinning and I'm like, Lord, what's going on? And it was like, I gotta, we gotta get this control
Yeah,
because y'all were gone.
yeah. You were listening. I admit it.
You feel it.
I know.
I was ready to get up,
Yeah.
and go save this poor animal.
Yeah.
I felt it. Oh, this is gonna happen on my watch.
Yeah.
It's like when you go in other countries, this is real.
Yeah.
This manifestation is real.
Right.
You can't be going out in the dark with witches are out there putting.
Yeah.
You've got to get on your knees and send the angels of the Lord out there because that's what's going to fight the battle.
Yeah.
In your home, your husband's going crazy. You can run in your room and hide, but he's going to come. You begin to pray.
Yeah.
You begin to push back darkness. And we have to understand the power we have in the spirit. We got to understand we've got power in the Holy Ghost. It's power in our bones. And we want to fight with our hands. We want to fight with our eyes. We want to go take and no, fight with your mouth. Send the angels of the Lord to fight on your behalf. And I can guarantee you will have results like none other because nothing, no, God says, I'll fight your battles. He'll fight your battles. But do we believe it? Or do we think, oh, I got this battle. They're just a bunch of dogs. Remember, it is in the natural as it is in the spirit.
Yeah.
And if these natural dogs can get you, do you know what the hounds of hell will do to you? Those hounds of hell will ravish you. Yes.
Staying right on point. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I know y'all not in the room and in these other areas, but it was just an attack here and it was crazy. And so I just had to pull my sword out. Sorry if I cut anybody, but I'm not. Insecurities. We're talking about, sorry. Are there any questions about anything that I said? If anyone online is confused about what I said, I will clarify any of it. Are there any questions? The last thing I want is confusion because the enemy is a confusing God. Any questions online? All right. So insecurities is going to be the next thing in this fast that you want to deal with. If you have a victim's mentality, if you have insecurities, if you feel like you have no control, you need to relinquish your control to God. And then emotional pains not dealt with. This is a false vine. We need to be attached to the true vine, who is Jesus Christ. But these false vines will not produce fruit. It says in John 15:4, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. Are you abiding? Are you living in your pain? Are you living in your insecurities? Are you living in your emotional deficit? Are you living in your mental deficit? All of these are vines that will do one thing: strangle and kill you. Unless you get attached to the true vine and abide in him, then these habits will have a tendency to take you under. Okay? So this is the prescription for the Elijah fast that's out in the book. It's a 10-step process. The first part of the process is you have to prepare physically and emotionally for any fast, but that's just the first step in this one. The activities that they give is make a vow to God to do your fast. I was just talking to somebody before we started, and they gave a vow to do a fast, and then they were in a situation where they didn't want to make people feel bad, and so they ate something, and she's like, man, I shouldn't have done that. I got to stay on point. When we make a vow to God, we can't let people and man distract us to get off of our point. You have to prepare for your fast like you prepare for everything else. And then you have to have a mindset to fulfill the task that you have purpose to do. So the first thing in being prepared physically and mental and emotionally, you got to be intentional. Be intentional in this fast. Be intentional about what you're doing. And then recognize your limitations. Admit that you have weaknesses. Admit that you're afraid. Admit that you don't know what you're doing. Admit that you need help. So ask for help. And then be held accountable once you ask for the help. And in order to recognize your limitations, we have to be humble. That's going to be your key. You have to be humble. Now, the keys aren't in the book. I'm giving you these keys. The keys aren't in the book, but I'm trying to help and give you some things to help you with the activities that the book has. So the book has the activity and they have the prescription, but they don't have the key. The key is what I'm giving you. You know, I always got to make stuff up.
No.
Go to meet God. I know a lot of us are in a place, or we have a wilderness day where we're going into a wilderness place to meet God. You have to have an altered location. You have to alter. You have to change your location. You have to change your position. And then you have to recommit yourself to whatever altered you. You know, we've talked many times about the ALTER and the ALTAR. And Cassie knows this very well because we've dealt with this. The ALTER are places in your life that altered you, changed your course. These altars, you were supposed to give that place that would have changed you to God, ALTAR, and lay it at the altar of God. But instead, what we do, and the enemy usually does this when we're young, he alters or changes our path. So now instead of making sacrifices to God, we make ourselves a sacrifice. We sacrifice our mind, we sacrifice our body, we sacrifice our time. And so now we're really laying ourselves at the altar of demons because of the altered position. Now, Cassie knows this. She goes back to that place that altered you. You go back to that place to change you. And now you lay a holy altar and you rededicate that place to God. Ask for forgiveness for going off course. Now that you're back on course, you set an altar to God, and he can burn that stuff up and he can make you pure. He can make you new simply because you have chosen not to run. And I'm telling you, it works. I'm telling you, you go back to the places that altered you and you give up everything that you have in those places of altercation, and you give it to God. Put a stone there and say, God, I'm making this a memorial because I'm never going to come back to this spot again. This place that changed me, this place that took over me. I'm never going to come back. I'm going to dedicate this to you. Forgive me about all the craziness and the foolishness that I've done. I'm going to alter my life now for you. I'm telling you, it's that significance, but you have to be willing to be intimate with God. because he wants to cut out those places that changed your very DNA. I know rape and abuse and neglect and abandonment and all of those things are places that altered us. But I can tell you this for sure. Those places that alter you did not kill you. So since they didn't kill you, had the ability to get back up and change. And that's how powerful God is. Because he uses those places that altered you, and he's going to use that for his glory, because he's going to waste nothing. Don't think your hurt is for nothing. Don't think your pain is for nothing. Don't think that lost child was for nothing. I tell you, I gave up my first child because I didn't value life, because I thought I was a piece of crap and nothing I could do, and nothing I could birth was crap. And that was the worst mistake of my life, because I didn't value life. And now when my fourth kid came, who's now my third kid living, and they told me I had to take his life simply because he would die or I would die, because I've had this problem during pregnancy. And I prayed to God in that hospital bed, and everybody told me I should abort so that I can live. And I asked God, what do you want me to do? And he said, he shall live and not die to see the works of God. And I believe God, him or me. I'm not dead. He's not dead. He doesn't have any mental issues. He grew to be a strong boy. I'm telling you, the devil wants you to not trust God. And he wants those places that altered you to rule your life. I set an altar on that child's life. And because of that, I altered the life of my second son, because I trusted God where I didn't trust him before. You got to be intimate with God. You got to be able to listen to God. You got to be able to hear from God. And I told that son, I told him, the devil has been after you since you were in my womb. There's a purpose and a plan for your life. Those altered spots are places where the enemy's trying to kill you or the seed that you had. You got to get your seed back. You got to get your seed back. You got to get your seeds back. Yeah, he's even happy about it. Hey, listen. He's telling Granny, somebody saying amen. You got to hear the word of God. That's the fourth step. Study the word, get a promise, and then obey God. You have to be hungry. If you hunger after the word, I promise you, you will be filled. If you hunger after the word instead of hungering after that chocolate chip cookie, that's me, chocolate chip cookies, I hate a whole dozen. You will be filled. Shh. See, what happens in Jasmine stays in Jasmine. It's wrong. See your weaknesses. I see my weakness. Chocolate. Confess your faults one to another and be healed. I confess. See your weakness. The way you see your weaknesses is you question your thoughts. Why am I having that thought? Why am I thinking right now that I should kill myself? Why am I thinking right now that I should go eat something when I'm not hungry? Why am I having that thought that I should go and look at that porn right now? What? Question your thoughts. Then let God reveal to you the answer. Don't just question the thought and then just you answer it. God, you revealed to me. What is this thought about? Be willing to look in the mirror and see yourself. And guys, you're beautiful. I can tell you that because you're made in the image of God, but many of us don't see our beauty. We see our faults. Those faults are beautiful to God because he's crafting you. He's molding you. He's making you into something new. So honor those cracks because he's going to make something great out of them. So be open. Be open in your time of weakness. And then confess and agree with God. When he shows you something, confess and agree with God. Confess your failures. Don't be defensive. If I tell you that you did this wrong, don't come back and tell me, well, you did the wrong thing too. It's not about me.
Yes.
It's about you getting right. It's not about you correcting me because I'm correcting you. That's being defensive. And that's not helping you any. Don't justify your sin. Don't justify your emotional state. Don't justify your mental state. Get healed of it. God wants to heal the brokenhearted. He wants to heal your wounds. Stop justifying your pain and submit it. So that's the thing for this key. When you confess and agree, be submitted to God. Don't submit to the pain. Don't submit to the problem. Don't submit to your fault. Submit to God. And he will change whatever's wrong with you. Then the next step, look for meaning. Change your viewpoint. Wait for a change. When I had that abortion, I had to change my mind about life. It took me some time to change my whole viewpoint of what my life was like and what life was. I had to change my view. If I didn't change my view, when that doctor told me I had to abort, I would have listened to the doctors and everybody's report. But my mind changed. My heart changed, but I had to wait for the change. And then I had to be responsible. I had to be responsible for my choice. I can't blame that, yeah, this baby was conceived. My first one was conceived in a rape situation. but that doesn't matter how it was conceived because all life is by God. But since I didn't value life, what is giving up a life? It means a lot. So therefore, when I look for meaning, you have to be willing to be broken. That's the key there. You have to be willing to be broken. Because if you're broken by the sin, if you're broken by your mindset, if you're broken by your emotions, you're at the perfect place to be healed and set free. But if it don't break you, then it's going to be hard for God to make you. You got to be broken. And then it says, look with God's eyes. Don't be manipulative. Elijah was like, God, don't you know I'm the only one left? Well, I'm the only one that did not bow my knee to bow. He was just a lying little piece of crap. I shouldn't call him that. So I called him a piece we try to manipulate God. He was trying to manipulate, say, see how good I am? You see what I sacrificed for you? You see what I gave up? God's like, shut up. I got 7,000 more who have not bowed to him. So just look, I'm so sick of you. Matter of fact, go anoint 2 people and anoint your replacement. You're not going to manipulate me. You have to look through God's eyes. I told y'all on Sunday, the revelation from Sunday was, how do you move a mountain? The mountain doesn't move. It's because you move. You've gotten bigger. You've went to another place. And since now you're at another level, that mountain don't look like a mountain. It looks like a molehill. That's how that mountain got thrown into the sea, is that you saw what God saw. So that's how come you can throw it to the sea, because you see now what God sees. That's how it gets thrown into the sea. See? Didn't make sense. See it from God's eyes. See it by faith. Don't see with your problem. When Elijah fasts, don't focus on your problem. Focus on the promise. What's the promise in your situation? Have you ever asked God in your problems that you have, God, what is your promise in this situation? And instead of focusing on your problems of your bills, I remember when I left Shelton and I left my home, I lost my home. I lost the land, and that land was an investment for my kids for college. and I lost everything. And instead of looking at what I lost, God wanted me to see what I had. I had my girls, I had my mind, and I had my freedom. That was awesome. Didn't have any money. Because I walked away from my house, didn't have any money. But I said, God, you said you were going to take care of me. And he did. He got the house when I shouldn't have got a house. He gave me a car when I shouldn't get in a car. And when I got that car, I was in there. He was like, how did credit sucks? How did you get this car? I said, I know a man. I know a man. And I sat there and I witnessed to the car dealer because he didn't understand what my credit score, how I got such a low interest rate. I said, God told me to get up out of bed, come down to the dealer and pick out the car.
Yeah.
And I did what he said. It wasn't based on my credit score. I want you to listen to this. What you have in life is not based on what you have in this world. It's based on your obedience. It's not based on your credit score. It's not based on what you got in the bank. It's not based on what you have. It's based on your obedience. When you are obedient to God, mountains move. You got to be spiritual. That's your key there. When you see it from the eyes of God, you're being spiritual. We got to stop being carnal. Can you click that? Got it. I'm sorry, y'all. I should have done that. Y'all can't even see it. Y'all say something. Oh, you got the source. Okay. Then you have to plan an action. You have to get a new habit. What habit do you want to place for eating chocolate chip cookies? Well, I haven't found one yet. Because that piece of celery just ain't making it. I'm just saying, I gotta do something. That's not, celery's not making it. Know God saves. That's going to be your next action. Know that God can save you. He can save you. He can pull you out of that situation. And then we have to exalt God. I got to exalt God above my situation. And so the action plan is I have to be ready. I have to be ready. I have to have an expectancy of change. I'm expecting a change in my behavior by me applying my faith to my flesh. You know, I was at the gym today and I was rowing all that I could. I was rowing. And then I realized that I was rowing with the wrong part of my body. I was rowing with the top hat. But when I started to use my feet and my legs, oh, my legs were burning. But sometimes when you can be doing something so repetitious and doing it wrong, and God can click in you and say, why don't you try doing this? And just being ready to alter how I did it, I got the best time that I've ever did because I was willing and ready to receive a new habit. And it was awesome. Yeah, I limped when I got off the machine. But that's not the point. The point is, even in a rowing machine, listening to God to say, God, I can't make it through this. I'm tired. I hadn't really eaten and I need some help. And he said, use your legs. And as I started using my legs, I'm like, this hurts. It's complain.
Yeah.
It's complain. Be ready. And then see the potential results. Focus on the goal. Get busy with others. Get other people involved with the goal. And you have to get a new vision. Get a new vision on the habit that you have. Do you have a new vision for it? The new vision you have to have is you have to be God's servant. When you got to be God's servant, Just serve him no matter where you're going. So those are the 10 steps prescription for the Elijah fast that you're going to be using this week.
Can you send those out?
I'll send the notes. Well, no, our communication officer will be sending it out. Okay, so when I thought about this, they have it a lot of different changes in there, these 7 steps of change. The first thing they say that you have to change is your thinking. You have to be committed and you have to have a conviction. If you're not committed and you don't have a conviction, you will not change your thinking. So that's the first thing. And then you have to change your belief. And it talks about, I'm going to talk about this belief system. I think there's 7 different ways that or 6 different ways that you can believe. And I'm going to break those down. But what I want you to learn to believe is that you're a visionary leader. And that this will make sense on the next slide, because that one I really wanted to break down. Then you have to change your expectation. You have to choose to be a victor over a victim. Many of us have a victim mentality. Always me. Why is this happening to me? We see the bad things. I think we have a recording. Wendy did a teaching on one of our Sabbath service on a victim mentality. She did a really good job on that. So go back on one of our Sabbath services or search our YouTube for victim mentality, and you'll kind of understand that mindset. And then a changed attitude. Actions earn reputation. The things that you do will set your reputation. Your reputation matters. Okay. Yeah, he's happy. Then you have to change your actions. Perform valued outcomes. Actions that you do should have value. Everything you should do should have a value. He is praising his grandmom for the word she's releasing. Do not silence that voice. I'm well encouraged to change your habit. Determined to have good discipline. Oh my God. You guys should be that. You have to be determined to have good discipline. Discipline is not holding that baby saying how good he looks. That's not good discipline. And then you have to be willing to change your character. By changing your character, you're becoming the vision. Remember, I told you, you have to have a new vision for your habit. You want to become that new vision that you have for your habit. You don't want to do the habit. You want to become the habit. You want to become it, because we have to have more faith in us being than doing. We are people that want to do things, but we want to be the habit. If you want to be healthy, you're not going to do healthy. If you're trying to change your food habit from eating fast food and eating flash food, we want to be healthy. And so we have to do things to become what we want. That's what this character growth is really talking about. And so this is how habits evolve. You think about it. You have a belief. I think that I'm no good. Then I believe I'm no good because everyone's left me. I have no one that loves me. And then I have an expectation, since no one loves me, that no one's ever going to love me. So I have a victim's mentality. And then my attitude is that I have a poor attitude. I give myself away. I start whoring myself out because that's the only way people will like me, if I give my body away. And those actions will then become my attitude will become my actions. I start selling myself, and then selling myself becomes a habit. And I'm walking the streets now because that's who I am. I'm just a whore. I remember being in prison, and this little girl was beautiful. I think I told the story before. She was beautiful, tall, slender girl. And she's like, well, I'm nothing but a whore. And you know what I did? You know what I did, Cassie? I laughed. You know, somebody tells you a whore and you laugh at them. They probably wanted to punch me. I laughed at her. The inmates were like, man, I don't believe she said she's a whore. She's laughing at her. And after I laughed, I said this, you actually believe that? You actually believe? Let me tell you what I see. And I said, you are beautiful, you're this, you're that. And I gave her a prophetic download. That girl started to cry. But I said, the next time you see this girl on the yard, I want you to say, hey, beautiful. The inmates are like, hey, girl, hey, beautiful. And that girl's chest, she stood up because somebody saw her. They didn't see what she did. They saw her. A change in her character. We have the ability by the words that we speak to change people's life because we see something different. We see something valuable. I don't care what you've done. There's value in those bones. If God can take dead bones and raise an army, I can take anything and use God to raise up somebody strong and mighty in him. Because I believe that much that God can do it. I believe it. And I do the actions because no one's a throwaway. No one's a throwaway. But we have to be willing to change. Vision. So as visionary leaders, you've got to give people a vision of something else, not a vision of their brokenness, but a vision of their healing. We've got to do that. And so these are the 6 responses to vision. Now, the first one is blinded. You're blind. You never see what God sees. You have a mechanical problem. Now, the words in the front of this, I made up. The words after the period is in the book. Okay.
Is this the responses you said?
The 6 responses to vision. The first one is you're blinded. You can't even see the vision. You never see what God sees. So you're just mechanical. You just go about doing things. The next one is that you're blocked. You see it, but you don't understand it. You got a mental problem. Okay? You're blocked. You're blocked from seeing, what does God want me to do? I don't understand. He's showing me a chair. I don't know what he want me to do. Fool, sit down. What he wants you to do and give you a chair, sit down. But we got a mental blockage. And so we have to unlearn. I don't know why I said that. Bury. You see it. That's supposed to be you see it, but you don't pursue it. So you bury it. You have a will problem. You see what God's told you, but since you're not pursuing it, you're being disobedient. So now you got a will problem. You see the vision, but you're not pursuing it because you're being disobedient because you have a problem in your will. You're rebellious. And then the next one is you're bored. You see it, but you don't feel it. You got an emotional problem. You're not always going to feel what God tells you to do. It's not a matter of you feeling it. It's a matter of your obedience. But when you're bored, you're not going to feel what God wants you to do. And then you have a border problem. Border. You see it and you achieve it. This one really blew my mind because I was like, wait a minute. You see it and you achieve it through obedience. Isn't that a good thing? That you see your vision and you actually achieve your vision. The reason why it's a border problem, because it's still all about you. You see your vision. So you have boundaries. That which you can do is putting you in a box. The reason why you need to be a visionary leader, because now you get breakthrough. Not only do you see it and you achieve it, but you share it and you demonstrate it to others. Now you have breakthrough. That is the burden of the promise. The burden of the promise is you want to see breakthrough. I want to see a breakthrough in Cassie's life. I'm here and I'm praying and I'm knocking on the door of God. God, I know what she's been through. You got to break through for her. You've got to do it. You've got to do it. You got to do it. And you just keep because of the burden that you want the breakthrough. A visionary leader sees the potential of all the people that that are following them, and they are praying for that breakthrough. They're trying to give you, I'm trying to give you a word so that you can have a breakthrough. I'm trying to teach you scripture so that you can get a breakthrough. I'm trying to demonstrate God's signs and wonders so that you can get a breakthrough. These things aren't just happening because of word. You got to demonstrate the power of God. You've got to demonstrate it. You must have a vision for a breakthrough, not only for your life, but for other people's lives. That is a visionary leader. That's what we're trying to build. We're training to build a KDI. Visionary leaders who own the vision of God over their life and then begin to incorporate other people in their life, because the commanded blessing is in unity. And we've got to be unified. The things that Lyle wants is the same thing that Teresa wants, which is the same thing that Charlotte wants. And all of us have different visions. But when they come in together and unified, it'll blow people away. So Mark 2:8, when it talks about breakthrough, Mark 2:4, says this. And when they could not come near him because of the crowd, they uncovered the roof where he was. So when they had broken through, they let the man down on the which was paraplegic and was lying. So this is the story about the breakthrough. There's a crowd, and as a crowd, you can't get to Jesus through the crowd. But if you are determined to see a solution, you will go around the crowd and make holes through roofs just so that you can get the breakthrough that you need. Don't let the easy path stop you from your breakthrough. It's going to take you some time and it's going to take you some effort to get you that breakthrough. And again, this is the fasting template. Des will send this out too. So Shelly's not trying to print it off the PowerPoint. So she will send this out to you so you have this contract and this template. The homework is, again, read chapter 5 in your book. We're going to fast Wednesday through Friday. We're going to pray now with your battle buddy. We're increasing it 30 to 40 minutes. I told you the goal is to pray an hour. Jesus said, can you pray an hour? And many of you couldn't pray 5 minutes. And if you've been consistent in doing this, that you should be building yourself up so that you, by the end of this, you should be able to pray an hour with another person. So you're really only praying 15 minutes or half an hour, if you're praying together. You can fast any type of fast. Again, journal and then report any breakthroughs that you have. I got to change this because this is emotional breakthroughs.
Oh, that's gonna be.
It's going to be sent out. Yep, it's going to be sent out. All right, that's the class. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I was just gonna comment on, it was interesting you brought up alter, ER and AR, because when you showed us that book, I had written it ER, but I realized it was AR. So I just thought that was really interesting, and then you expanded on that, and then
It blows you away, right?
you don't think about it. I just thought,
You don't?
spell it right.
You don't think about it, but it's a big thing. Altars, ALTER and ALTAR is huge because many of us live altered lives because we won't make sacrifices on the altar of God. And it's devastating, but we don't understand that. We just think this is who we are and we walk in that, which is bad. Huh? Praise God. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
So the Elijah fast is what?
Emotional. You can give up whatever. You can give up whatever food, television, pleasure to your senses. Where we will walk through, I think one of these fasts will walk through the actual a week instead of doing 3 days. We'll actually do a whole week of a We can probably do the 21 if we choose to. But not everyone has the 21. Only people with the old books have it. People with the new books don't have, or maybe the people with the new books have it. People in the old book, one book doesn't have it. So you have the new book, I think, or the old one, the old one, okay. Well, one of the books I think don't have the 21 day.
What is yours? You got 21.
Any other
I
questions?
have that book. You got 21.
Seeing no one coming off mute. Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you for what you've done and how you've operated in us. We pray, Father, for those emotional wounds to be healed. We pray for mental barriers to be broken. Father, we even pray against every spirit of distraction that would try to come in and hinder us from not walking and completing our fast, because we know that the enemy will come in. But Father, I'm releasing the standard, the Spirit of the Lord to be released over the ones under the sound of my voice and ones that will listen to this recording, that they will be so focused that they will not be distracted by things that are coming to hinder them. For tonight was a foreshadowing of what's going to happen this week. And I'm praying for they would be steadfast and immovable in all the works that they do. Father, I pray that every weapon that is formed against them, that it will not prosper. But God, they will use their weapon, the weapon of prayer, the weapon of calling their battle buddy, the weapon of using the word, the weapon of using their faith, the weapon of using their anointing to destroy every yoke that is trying to destroy them. I pray for new habits to be formed. I pray, God, that they will rise up and this week, Father, and suddenly, a habit that they've been fighting for decades is broken instantly. God, I know you can do it. I know you can do it. So I'm praying for breakthrough in Jesus' name. Amen. Love you.
Amen.
If you have any questions,
Amen.
problems, concerns, call somebody else.
Rude.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good
Night.
Good
night.
night.
Love
Night.
you all.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.